So I'm Andraka. I'm a medical entrepreneur, an education activist, and a global change maker.
I'm here to talk about a really devastating disease. It's called pancreatic cancer. Only 5.5% of people who are initially diagnosed will survive after 5 years. And one of the main reasons due to this is that usually once it's diagnosed, the cancer is spread around the body, when the patient has a very small chance of survival.
What really drove me to become interested in pancreatic cancer was the fact that when I was 13, a close family friend who was like an uncle to me passed from the disease, and this really set me on a path that made me want to really make a difference in pancreatic cancer diagnostics. The first step was to gather as much background information as possible. I mean, at the beginning of this, I didn't even know what pancreas was, so that was a bit of a hardship.
Essentially, I would just Google some keywords, then go to a publication, and then sometimes it wasn't really about the content of the publication, it's more about the references in it.
And finally, I found a database of over 8,000 different proteins, and then I started looking at biomarkers, or proteins that are found in your bloodstream when you have these different types of cancers. And so then I just went through those, and on the 4,000th try, I found this one protein called mesothelin that essentially is found in all pancreatic cancers at very high levels.
Meaning if you can detect this protein, you can detect pancreatic cancer before it becomes invasive.
After that, I suppose I was just reading a bunch of different articles, and I finally stumbled across carbon nanotubes. And essentially, they have these amazing properties. They're kind of like the superheroes of material science.
And so I am really fascinated by carbon nanotubes. I was reading this really interesting paper in my biology class, and all of a sudden, we were learning about these new things called antibodies, organic molecules that actually bind specifically to one protein. In my case, it would be to mesothelin, kind of like a lock and key. In my biology class, I was just sitting there behind my desk looking at this little paper and thought, what if I put this antibody in a network of carbon nanotubes, just wildly on a whim?
And that's really important because I'm not a unique case. There are millions of people like me. And so if you can just go on Google, Wikipedia, and find these amazing articles, we could have this great innovation. Not to be offensive to adults, but most adults, once you're over 30, you have these preconceived blinders on, so you can't really do as much innovative thinking as teenagers can.
So in order to detect these ultra-low concentrations of mesothelin in your blood, I employed these carbon nanotubes. And how you test it, basically, it only requires 1/6 of a drop. And you just put it on, and then you just measure the change in electrical potential, just an electric parameter. So then, in order to detect pancreatic cancer from the detection of this protein, basically what you have to do is you have to establish what we call a cutoff level, where anything above that level of mesothelin is considered positive, anything below we consider negative. And so what happens is this sensor is really revolutionizing how we look at cancer treatment and diagnosis, because compared to the current gold standard of protein detection in cancer, it's 168 times faster, over 26,000 times less expensive at 3 cents, and over 400 times more sensitive. And also, it has limitless applications. You switch out the antibody, and you can detect an entirely new protein, meaning you can look at other forms of cancer, but also you can look at cancer treatments effectively. You could look at cancer drug resistance, because these are caused by unique mutations in the DNA, producing a unique protein, which you can pick up with my sensor. Also, you can look at the effectiveness of a cancer treatment, meaning that we are revolutionizing how we look at cancer treatment, personalizing the treatment at a patient, so you don't have that conventional guess and check method.
And it's 100% accurate so far in clinical studies. And then also, it can detect the cancer in the earliest stages when someone has close to 100% chance of survival.